Hello, everyone, and welcome to Answer the Call. This is take two because we screwed up pretty hard in the beginning. Welcome, guys. We have a very, very special guest here. His name is Myre. I've been on his podcast, Fortnightly Frontier. We've had his co-host, Darjanator, on the show, but we haven't had him yet, so I'm very excited to have him. His name is Myre, and I consider him a very good friend of mine. I don't know what he thinks of me, so that's why he's here. We're going to find out today on today's podcast. What's up, Myre? How you doing?
Hey, Torque, thanks for having me. Oh, God, no, I just
So
called
what do
you
you
Torque.
think about me? This is the first, No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Yeah, and I don't know who Torque is, but people keep calling me him. It's weird. Such a weird nickname to have. I don't get it.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me, Mike.
Of course, of course.
It's cool to be here. Yeah. I guess first time guest, but I think I've called in maybe once or twice before.
Yeah, you definitely called in before. I guess we'll start out with what have you been up to, and what do you think of 3.9?
So what have I been up to? I guess in the past couple weeks. Just Star Citizen, variety streaming, that kind of thing. I decided to get started on this lore post thing that it's been on the back burner for a long time.
Yeah.
I've wanted to do it, but it's something that I want to do by myself and also try and balance with everything else I do.
Yeah.
But we got episode 1 out and it was okay. But then I think now the pressure is on to make episode 2 not suck. So yeah.
We loved it here. What would you do differently? And for the guys that are watching on Twitch, you could type !Myre in chat, and we have his YouTube channel link there. Obviously, for the guys watching on YouTube, we'll have the links in the description.
So what I did differently? Not much, because obviously, with everybody in their homes and stuff, long form format stuff is, I guess, more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't really feel like I need to do much in terms of, visuals, because it's supposed to be like an audiobook thing.
Yeah.
But I guess just, how Morphologist makes things look good? I want to make mine look okay.
Okay. Yeah, I feel the same.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah. So it's more like the preference of what the video is, and not necessarily like changing format or anything, right?
Yeah, I want to learn how to be more competent with the video software. I'm using something called DaVinci Resolve,
Gotcha.
Which is like a free version of like a Premiere and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it works really well, but a lot of the, I guess, dev time with that first video was learning how to make the program work in the first place.
Yeah, that's the hardest thing with video editing, is learning all the little shortcuts and doing things faster and making. Then you learn different transitions and all these other things. But before we move on from that, I'd like to, what exactly did you do for people that haven't seen the video and are maybe looking for this kind of content? Because we've had Astropub on here. He does lore things, but he doesn't do what you did. It's very different kind of style.
Right. So while Paul he goes into the deeper lore of the stuff. Basically, CIG has years and years of what they call serialized lore, which are like their weekly lore posts, and also like slightly bigger things, which are basically stories that are written within the universe of Star Citizen that the lore team work. So it's really strange how lore teams in games work. Essentially, they don't just sit down and write stories and go, wouldn't that be cool? They talk to the devs, they talk to Luke Presley, and they talk to everybody else to see what exactly can they get out of it. And so essentially what I'm doing is I'm just reading through those serialized lore posts in no real order, as long as it's, it starts with one story and ends that story, that I can move to something else. That's essentially what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And so it's called the Star Citizen Lore Tour, because why not?
Yeah, and so basically you're narrating their written lore, right?
Yeah.
And
audiobook style.
Yes, and you are a professional voice actor as well? Would you describe yourself that? Okay, yeah, because I see you've done some things, like you have another persona on your Twitter, right? Is that your professional stuff?
So persona, I guess.
I don't know.
It says Jerry on it.
Yeah. Well, it's like Jerry OP or whatever, right?
Yeah, Jerry OB. That's
OB,
my name. Yeah. That's my name. And so now that I've doxed myself,
My name's Mike. I mean,
yeah. Really?
yeah. But
But
yeah, so
yeah.
you do that professionally on the side, or is that your main job currently?
It's kind of my main job at the moment,
Yeah.
but because I got into the voice acting profession without I'm not a classically trained actor, and
Okay.
so I kind of got in like through other things. I actually got into voice acting through Star Citizen,
Yeah.
funnily enough. Like through streaming, I got
Hmm.
like equipment, and then through the equipment, I was able to then do you remember this thing called bulkheads?
Yep.
Yeah, so like I auditioned for Bulkheads, and then we got to producing that. And then some of the other guys who also got into it were actual, like professional voice actors who have been in the trade
Ah,
for years. And then so through them, I was able to, get tips and pointers and, keep, pushing that forwards. So yeah, I guess this year I did like a project with HP Omen and Overclockers UK, and I'm in the works. I'm doing something at the moment
mhm.
with Nerd or Die. So
Oh,
I
cool.
guess you could call me a professional voice actor, but like oh, I also did something with Dying Light 2 as well. But
Nice.
I guess my credits aren't that long just yet. So kind of like, I don't know, semi-pro,
Well, I
aspiring, what something like
okay.
that.
Sure. Yeah. I was just like trying to tell the whole story of professional
Mhm.
voice actor. He's doing these things with Star Citizen. You guys should check them out. Again, YouTube link in the description and all that. So I was just trying to tell the whole story with it. Okay, so now let's jump into like Star Citizen and what we've been doing lately with that. How are you enjoying 3.9? What's your favorite aspect of it?
Oh man, 3.9 is amazing. I feel like my favorite aspect of 3.9 is it's got to be microtech, and then the food and drink and stuff that comes into it. Just because, again, I'm really big into the lore of Star Citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So when I see things from that being put into the game into a tangible kind of like way, it's really cool. I haven't yet done the mining stuff, but I have, like watched you and everybody else do it. So like it looks really cool,
Yeah.
and I love that it's adding that in an extra element to that gameplay. But so far I've walked through microtech a bunch of times. I've eaten all the food, and I've done the prison stuff,
Okay.
and it's all really interesting. Like I've done most of what 3.9 has to offer at this point, apart from maybe like fly around the new moons that much.
I would
But
say
there's not really much to do there, is there?
yeah, I would say out of everything, the new moons are the most like meh part of it. It's like we've seen moons now, so it's not like
Mm.
it. I feel so bad for the environment artists because I mean, they do such an amazing job, and we're just like, they're just snowy moons, I guess. It's whatever. But they're so
Yeah, yeah.
amazing at the same. Cleo's really cool. If you go to one, go to Cleo.
Mm.
Cleo's
I
neat,
think
but
that the
yeah.
coolest thing about the moons has to be the fact that because they are just, icy, rocky moons,
Hmm.
and they are so distinct from each other, and we already have another icy, rocky moon, and we have what's that one called again? Selin.
Yep.
I feel like now they have a really good kind of like palette to then just make any random moon that they want to make if they
Yep.
wanted to just go that route without making custom assets for everything.
Yeah, exactly. We have
Mm.
acidic, we have snowy, we have desert now.
Yeah.
We just don't have Endor. That's it. We just need
That's true.
we need rainforest. I think is like one of the few biomes that we're missing.
Yeah, and the thing is that I've seen is that with Microtech they introduced the whole dynamic weather system. So
Yeah,
like now the wind buffets you and there's the particle effects with that. And
yeah.
then with 3.9 they actually ported that to Hurston, so now there are dust storms of the same
Have you tried
magnitude and like
flying?
so yeah. I've also so I had somebody like land. We're doing bunker missions. We landed. We got out of the freelancer without turning it off, and so IFCS is still working in the background. And so the wind comes at the freelancer and makes it flip into
Oh
the
yeah.
wind and get caught into like a metal sheet. It was funny.
I've been doing this on on my Twitch stream, and it'll eventually, hopefully, I'll be able to edit. It's like 15 hours of video, so hopefully I'll be able to edit it down. I've been doing this like hardcore challenge thing, and it's like a starter series, but making it more difficult. And I've been taking the Aurora to Hurston a lot, and you literally just get blown as you're trying to fly to a landing zone by the wind. It's crazy.
Yeah.
One thing. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I haven't done much atmospheric flying myself.
Yeah. Okay.
I get people to fly me. Yeah.
yeah. Get people to fly you is much easier. You know what I do is I actually like flying, but a few of the guys that I play with really like being the pilot, and I'm so bad that it's just like go because our mission will be way more successful if you fly rather than I do. But what I was going to ask you before,
get to talk to people more.
Exactly. Yeah. And what I was going to ask you before, but I forgot, is when you were mentioning things from lore that you've read coming into the game. Like, what's your favorite example of that? Is it food? Some food items, and if yes, which one?
You know, like, it's going to be a very general answer, but almost everything. It's strange because it's like dating back from 2016, and they had like one really small random nugget, and I think that's what I might add to my new lore posts. Or whenever like a paragraph has something to do with what could be perceived as an in-game mechanic, I will highlight that word. Because even in this last lore post, there were things about managing power in a certain way. There were things about scanning in a certain way. There was food, water, and hydration that was in there as well, which just got put into the game, which had you read that story 2 years ago, you'd be like, it's fluff.
Yeah.
So I guess mechanics in that, this isn't an answer to your question, but mechanics specific to that story that might be coming in. So like in that story, the main character, he was sleeping, he got out of bed, and in order to turn his ship on, he had to reroute power from his shields to his engines. So maybe we might see like a more like a, I guess, relevance kind of like power economy for your ships, like Elite Dangerous, for instance, where like it matters as opposed to everything always running and you're only using 20% of your power core. Things like that we might see. Oh man, literally everything that you have in the game, like that has come into the game in the last couple of years, were in lore posts first, like finding components and stuff. It's really interesting.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things that a lot of people miss, is that if you want to know, like a lot of people ask like, what is Star Citizen, what's it going to be? One of the best ways to find out is to read the lore, right? Because that's that's how they intend us to eventually be playing. What is it right now is something totally different, but what you can expect, even maybe in the near-ish future, are, again, I don't read the lore very much. This is why I'm very much looking forward to your series, is I can follow along as if it's an audiobook. But the question I would ask you is have they been doing a lot more of that recently? Like, do the weekly lore posts represent what we're getting in upcoming patches more often now?
I would say, I mean, not quite. And also, like, I tend to read the older stuff as opposed to the newer stuff. The way CIG does their lore is that, so I'm going through what they call the serialized lore, which are like more just stories. Whereas weekly CIG, they have another part of their lore thing, which I don't think would translate so well to like a lore, like a YouTube thing, which are their comm links. And they have several different categories of lore at this point. They have the serialized lore, which first shows up in Jump Point and stuff. That's what I'm going through. Then they have the comm links, which are some of them have lore bits in them, and I might get into them eventually, but they're more like they're almost like excerpts from like in lore, like TV shows and radio spots and stuff like that. Like most recently, it's bits about the election that's happening like at the moment, because we're changing imperators and stuff, and it's more dynamic stuff. That's more Paul Shelley's turf. That's
okay.
Yeah, it doesn't really interest me too much at the moment.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. So then, when you said you were kind of, all right, I've done everything there is to do with 3.9, do you feel that as a content creator for this game, how difficult is it when within week 1 of it being live, you feel like you've done already everything there is to do? And how do you combat that? How do you keep things interesting for yourself and fresh?
Well, man, you see, the thing is, Star Citizen is like this sandbox game. So with emergent gameplay, there's no such thing as like.
Now tell the real story. Tell the truth now.
Oh man, so what I like to do in the game is I like to do all the missions. Once you do all those missions, including like the synchronized bounty hunting missions, that is kind of it for you. And then you can just keep doing that, and the more you do it, the more bored you get, until you just have to play something else before you scratch yourself to death.
Yeah.
But like I feel like the best way to combat that, obviously, is if you play with chat, is to make up your own stuff. And I think the best examples of that kind of have to be Captain Richard and stuff, because and yourself, obviously, and that's because it doesn't tend to always be just the missions. It almost never is. It's trading or that kind of thing. And it like I was joking about it before, but it kind of brings in more of that emergent aspect to the game. How do I combat it? I guess the answer is I don't. I'm not a very successful Star Citizen streamer. Like I'm there for the patch. I mean, but like I'm there for the patch, and then I'm not. Like I try to be, but I guess that's why I'm focusing on, or at least trying to focus on these YouTube stuff now, because at least that will, that
is the meta. Like it makes no sense, but Twitch is such a poorly designed website, because Twitch just exploded into this thing that nobody ever expected it to be. And success on Twitch is obviously view count and sub count, right? That's 2 things only. That's all that matters. And in order to grow any of those, you have to grow on YouTube, or you have to grow on Twitter. So the only,
you really do,
so finding a niche for you on those other platforms is key. And like once I started doing this podcast, or even going all the way back to Redacted, once I started doing the Redacted podcast, then you started seeing people come into your channel and going, I saw your YouTube video, thank you, I enjoyed it, whatever, and then those people, you gradually notice that they stay and hang out for a little while, and then there's more of them. It's it's pretty wild. Like I don't want to kind of crap on Twitch, because I can't really blame them. Nobody expected this to be what it is, and now it is.
Point. Yeah, you have a great point, though. I mean, Twitch is a great platform for your community.
Yeah,
but it is not a great place for building your community.
Exactly.
I mean, I think I got at one point I had more people in my channel just watching. I think they're gone now, but I had more people in my channel watching because they saw me in a Shroud failed video on YouTube.
Oh, the green screen.
Yeah. But
that was amazing. I'm gonna have to ask you for that clip so we can show it to everybody. It was great. But yeah, I mean, after a couple weeks, do you usually go and play other games? Or, I mean, like for me, people go, oh man, because I usually get frustrated by the game at some point. People are like, go play something else. And it's like, yeah, I enjoy playing other games, but streaming Star Citizen is something different. Do you find that experience the same?
I mean, yeah, I built my community on Twitch through Star Citizen.
Same,
obviously, it's the game that I want to play. And so the feeling when you play it and that kind of thing is different. It doesn't really feel like a game that you're playing. It's more like almost something that you're waiting. It's a weird concept, because obviously if you don't see it that way, then you're going to be super negative about it. But it's a game in development. Yeah. And, every single time they come out with something new, you're like, oh, this is really cool. Let me show everybody. And that you're super knowledgeable about this one game. And so anything else you try and play eventually just goes, well, I wish I was playing Star Citizen right now, even with the bugs. It's weird.
Yeah, it really is. It just, I feel like when I stream any other game, I don't know it as well. and I end up finding myself not engaging with chat, and that's what Twitch is all about, right? And then same with like if I was to make a YouTube video on another game, it just wouldn't be good because nobody would care because they come to your channel for that one thing. But yeah, it's a little tough. So have you been playing any other games besides Star Citizen and Marbles, obviously? I mean, you tell people what Marbles are. I bet you people that watch this podcast have no clue what Marbles is. I know my channel does. They beg for it every day still.
So yeah, Marbles is it's a semi-competitive viewer interaction game where they join in by typing in their name into chat. They spawn in game as a marble, and then RNG and physics does the rest, and the streamer commentates. And there's actually somebody on YouTube with several million subscribers
that just
does marbles. Yeah.
the one thing I would do marbles more often, and maybe you can clue me in on this, where I've seen other streamers where they would do like, people would name their marble something, and it was like truth or dare, but all the marbles were dares. It was like call your friend and tell her you love her, even though you're just friends. Like, things like that were what I've seen done, and I don't know how you can customize the marbles.
Yeah, I don't know how to do that either, but I'm sure that they have a big community, and they have a Discord and everything. So,
okay.
I mean, like,
I'll look into it.
You can probably...
Yeah, because I would do that if it was like, stupid challenges kind of thing. I think it would be a lot more fun watching that thing that you don't really want to do as the winner, and chat would enjoy it. I think it would make it a lot of fun. But yeah, are you planning on playing any other games coming up?
Oh man, there's so many games on the back burner now that I really want to play that I still haven't. That new Star Wars game that Respawn made for EA.
Oh, what's it called? The platformer?
Yeah, it's called Star Wars
Jedi Fallen Order.
That's the one. I was going to say Redhead Jedi, but yes, Fallen Order is the right one.
Yep. Yeah, that one looks really cool. I've wanted to play that too. Yeah, I think the only stuff that's on I'm thinking about Escape from Tarkov again, because that's going to be coming out with a little
That's
wipe
supposed
soon.
to be open world at some point, isn't it?
I don't think it'll ever be open world. Because I just don't I don't see a lot of people spending the time the way Star Citizen does to make these maps so massive. I think what they really meant by open world is like one map that you're in is actually, all the maps are actually connected to each other. You can see the other map from where you are. So you would have to extract from that map into the next one, to get to where you live, I think is how it would end up being. And which is really intense. Like the survivability of that is so crazy. But yeah, let's go into some more of like the negative Star Citizen stuff. 4.0 is not 4.0 anymore. Some things have moved out of it, specifically Crusader. How does this make you feel? I think obviously, like, with the circumstances, it's hard to get upset at them, right? But what do you think about the rest of 2020 for this game? Do you have high hopes? Any expectations?
I mean, 2020 is kind of it's kind of a moot point at this point for not just Star Citizen, but like
life
the world
in general.
I mean,
I'm waiting on a call to get a job at a grocery store right now.
Oh man.
Yeah, it's nuts.
2020 is intense, dude. Like, like with all this stuff, I mean, like, you got a job, or you're waiting for a call from a grocery. Like, I'm doing like e-learning at the moment, but I may have lost that job now because of how things are weird. Like, but anyway, it's crazy. But with 3.9, I mean, with 4.0 not being 4.0, I kind of saw that coming. I mean, not like a while ago, because CIG tend to have this pattern of having their biggest and most brightest patch happening around CitizenCon time.
Yeah.
So it being Q2 never made sense.
Yeah.
Also, I don't know. I mean, in terms of what's coming out in those patches, there's still a lot of stuff to see, and a lot of stuff that, like, is going to change the game in a similar fashion to 3.9, you know. But as far as them changing the name from 4.0 to 3.10, that's fine. Obviously, if they called it 4.0, I mean, for us, it's just a number. But for anybody watching from the outside, 4.0 means that Star Citizen has changed so much so that it's as different as, 2.0 was from 3.
Yeah.
You know, like, which is like Yella being the size of a fist, you could fly around in 10 seconds to like planetary landings and stuff. So it would be a really poor marketing decision to call it 4.0.
Yeah.
So yeah, it being renamed because they've like moved Horizon and Crusader, probably a good idea. But I have the roadmap open. They have some interesting things still coming through. More interesting stuff for me, I guess, because like
what interests you?
I'm not a so I'm not a competitive player. You know, I'll come out there and say it. You know, so like I guess. So they're completing more things for New Babbage to make it more like more rounded out, which is weird because like they haven't spent this much effort on like say like bringing Hurston up to par with like the CBD and the gardens and stuff.
Yeah.
But so yeah, New Babbage, they're adding those things, factory lines. So like again in lore, like New Babbage is where the Empire or where Microtech makes MobiGlasses and where they make sim pods. So they're coming in, there's going to be a store for them, which I guess for me, because we're always looking forward in Star Citizen, for me, I feel like it's cool because maybe you can buy a sim pod at some point. Not 4.0, obviously, or 3.9, but at some point.
Yeah.
Like, or buy a different MobiGlass. I believe if it's not 3.9, if it's not 3.10, it's 3.11. But at some points they are moving. Let me just really check here because it is right here. But at some points they are moving the MobiGlass tech that we have at the moment to the whole building block
blocks.
Tech.
Yeah.
Yes. So like,
is that on the roadmap?
It is on the roadmap.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
So that's also going to be neat because you can then finally see what people can see when they bring up the MobiGlass and tell them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just in general, like they were talking about the ability to transfer money between each other with that app.
Yeah.
So I think all those things are going to be in line with each other, right? And man, playing in groups is such a pain in the ass. Like we were running a little bit late because I was trying to transfer to the 15 people in our group 30,000 credits, and it was just like, guys, it's only 30,000 credits. Can we wait until another day and I'll just transfer it to you guys over time? And everyone's like, sure, whatever. It's just 30K. Who cares? But
it's silly at the moment. But because like with 3.9, they've brought the whole top-down spectrum thing. At some point, you might be able to see yourself being able to send somebody money without having to log into the game, which is kind of interesting.
Yeah, right. Seeing all your account on Spectrum and moving money around would be really, really sweet. Yeah. I mean, what else?
New Grim Hex is coming in the next patch, which is super awesome. They've talked about something called new targeting methodology, which I guess is going to be more important for people who are competitive than myself, but it sounds interesting.
Yeah. I think it's their slow transition into finally making combat a viable thing to do. Because right now, it's just I think nobody is really happy with it, including them. And I mean, maybe we'll touch on that in a little bit. But I think they're slowly working their way into it. It's just, I hope they get there.
It's one of those things. Yeah, so do I. But it's one of those things, with the game in general. Because they're either developing tech or like building for the future. Things that you see right now always tend to look really dire, and there are always going to be people who like they see what they have in front of them, and to them that's what we have, and it's there because CIG want it to be like that, and they'll completely say it's terrible, and they'll berate it, and they'll just but it's the way it is because they're developing future things to put onto it to make it work. Like somebody was saying how Star Citizen's flight model currently is really bad compared to an indie game with 10 developers and which flies and feels really immersive. But that indie game only like that spaceship in that indie game, it flies. It's only one entity flying, and they coded that one entity to fly to a specific like physics, whatever, right?
Yeah.
With Star Citizen, it's not one entity flying. It's a hull flying with about 100 components that are all communicating with each other to make you fly in a similar fashion. So without it all working perfectly, and because we're in the alpha, it's not balanced, and nothing will be balanced until beta. It feels like crap. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, this is what I was going to go into next. You say you're not a competitive player, right?
Mm.
And neither am I. But what do you think of the value of PvP, piracy, and all that sector of the community? Because they're definitely the black sheep of the community for many reasons. Like they've been kind of pushed in the corner where the things that they enjoy don't seem as much of a priority for CIG currently as maybe they feel it should be. And on top of that, I guess we'll touch on this after, but they're also the black sheep of the community a lot of the times for their actions within the game, right? And in my opinion, I think that they're a little bit misunderstood, and I've talked to a few. I've been on podcasts, and I've talked to pretty much all of the leaders of some of these groups, and had very productive, like normal conversations with these people. And I think a lot of people look at them in a different way. And I just kind of wanted to know your opinion about the general combat section of the community, and not like. I mean, I'm not asking you to be like, I don't like them. I mean more of their importance for the future of the game, and what your opinion on is, and just combat in general, you know?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, we're all people, and we're all players, and we all want to play Star Citizen. I mean, I'm not a competitive player now. I used to be, back in 2. Whatever. I was like one of the top 3 fastest racers around Old Vanderbilt, like even a lot of that's muscle memory. And I used to be really big into all that stuff. But when CIG's priorities changed, my priorities changed because, I play a whole range of games, and I understand that, it's just not ready yet. Yeah. But not everybody, for instance, likes RTS games or likes strategy or likes RP, or so they're like, no, I want my PvP, I want my FPS game, or I want my dogfighting, and so they'll stick at it, and they'll try to make it work for them. And the way they're making it work for them, I feel like the reason why they are the black sheep, and why the rest of the community don't necessarily take a shine to them, is because the way they make it work for them and make it fun and cohesive for their communities, which are super tight, tend to have an impact on other people. And you have people who what they like to do is dogfight each other, or if they see some random person, they wouldn't be averse to blowing them out the sky because, hey, they can. And because the game itself isn't mature enough yet so that we have prisons now, which is a decent start, and only a small subset of those guys will even say, well, prisons suck because no, I can't kill people whenever it's not that. It's not that, they just want a game that works the way they expect it to. But again, we're in development. So what was the other question?
No, I think you pretty much touched on it. I think you touched on why they may be the black sheep. But the one thing that I always say about these members of the community, where I'm not a part of this part of the community because I'm very focused on economy kind of stuff, and I never was interested in the dogfighting aspect. I only played the dogfighting aspect because that's all we had for a while, right? But I always understood their value, because if I'm just out there mining and there's never the risk that somebody might come by and try and take what I'm doing, then the game gets boring.
I mean, if the game is to be what CIG wanted to be, then these guys who are, not only just good, but they're the top of the top of what they do. They're going to be highly valuable in the future, because it's not just other players you're going to have to worry about. As a miner who just wants to focus on mining, you're going to need people who are going to like provide support, and then these same guys are also going to be making pressure on each other, and they're going to have like unless they do the whole like test squadron thing where they just like become super big and like one big balloon, then like I don't think that's going to happen, because you always have strong personalities, and you always have people who want to be like the leader, and so there's always going to be that kind of like dynamic amongst them as well, and it's going to be super interesting to see. It's just that the universe is too small for them at the moment. There isn't enough there aren't enough resources for them to work around, and it's coming, but they're kind of like a really big fish in a really small pond in terms of like what the game has to offer.
That's true. And the other part of these communities is, like you said, they're really tight knit, but like I've played other hardcore kind of PvP MMOs. Obviously it's Ultima Online, I've talked about it a million times, but the people that end up being in these communities, they enjoy, and I've had these conversations with these guys, they like being the villain. And it's not even just like these people are going to be highly valued because you can use them as a mining org to protect you. They don't want to do that. They want to be the villain. And and what's cool about it is we need a villain, because at some point in every game, you play what's there, and you've played the stuff, even in MMOs, right? Like you start repeating the content, and it gets old. And if you have this villain that it's a different experience every time, even though it may be the same people every time, it stays interesting. And
in every MMO that I've played, there has been at least one heel org. A heel is a wrestling term. It's like the bad guy.
Okay.
There's been at least one heel org in every MMO, and they've always brought us closer together as a community. Like back when World of Warcraft didn't have that whole stupid we're gonna have like server meshing and stuff in Star Citizen, but it's gonna be different because it's gonna be there from the start. And all our communities are global from the start already. I'm in the UK, you're in America land. But like back then, like it was just one European server called Dunmol, and like people played around, and we had forums, and everybody knew each other. And then there was this one guild called the Guild of Sun. And like their primary objective in the game was to just corpse scam people and kill people and troll and make posts about it on the forums. And as a result, you had people hunting the Guild of Sun. You had people like going out on like anti-PvP brigades and stuff like that. And it brought up a whole different dynamic to the game, which sadly in World of Warcraft you can't have anymore, because it's not that kind of MMO anymore.
Yeah. And now we have prisons. And we have, as soon as you escape from prison, you have a bounty on your head. And it kind of is bringing that together, where you're finding these people coming together to continue to kill the pirates and not let them out. And then those pirates are going to need to bring in ships to kill those people. And then it creates this interesting dynamic, I think. And I mean, I think a lot of people, let's talk about prisons a little bit. That's one thing we haven't touched on too much yet. Okay. I think a lot of people, when they heard prisons, the first thing they thought about was, yes, something to punish the griefers for. Yeah. But I don't really think that's the purpose of them. I think it's a result of them being in. But what's your overall opinion on prisons and your experience with it?
Well, obviously, the word prison, the first thing that comes to your mind is punishment, because in real life, that's what it's there for. But in Star Citizen, you can't just punish somebody for playing the game. Yeah. Now, the thing is, PvP and, like as Noodle calls it, unconsensual PvP, it's you as a player enjoying your time playing the game, but at the same time impacting somebody else's fun. Yeah. So it's something that, yes, it's cool for you to do in the short term, but there has to be a risk involved. Otherwise, you're going to impact other people to such a degree that they stop playing altogether. And what prison gameplay does is that it then kind of puts a fire on your back to make you think more about, not necessarily think about your actions, but at least how you carry them out. So
Exactly.
So I've been playing 3.9 at the moment, doing some criminal gameplay and stuff, and just the looming idea of being thrown back into prison has kind of elevated that fun for me.
Yeah.
And so it's kind of cool. And then prison itself, I mean, while it's kind of rough at the moment, is still fun. It has fun mechanics, although those mechanics, again, don't tie into the wants of the PvP community who do not want to be hand mining.
Yeah.
But I feel like in the future, like they can add more things in there. So even though it serves as sort of a time sink and a buffer to protect some players from other players, I feel like it can still be there can still be fun to be had, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, I think the real purpose of them was, and you hit it on the head, was that the reason it was there was to balance the risk and reward of the game mechanics of piracy, not necessarily this guy is a pad ramming griefer, this guy's a stream sniper, oh my god, this guy griefed me, he killed me in the game that is open PvP, I'm going to call him a griefer. Right, like those scenarios are just a result or an effect of them being there. But I think that the real reason was like the balancing behind the actual game that they're building, and I think it really balances it really well. We'll kind of come back to the topic of the show here. Was the state of 3.9, and I think the state of 3.9 was elevating what we already had. And we like the food, I think, really makes food and drink and temperature and everything really makes you think. Prisons really make you think. Like what do you think? I mean, I don't think that 3.9 was this amazing patch. It had very little added to it in terms of super exciting content, but it made what we already had there much more interesting, I thought.
Yeah, it certainly adds more elements to existing gameplay that kind of like, again, elevates that gameplay without adding too much. And that's, I guess, why before 3.9 came out, people were complaining about all this stuff being moved or removed and that kind of stuff. And they're right to complain, obviously, because they expect one thing, you kind of expect it to happen. But I feel like what we got in the end was still, like a solid patch, but the difference between 3.8 and 3.9 is pretty big.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah, without adding any major things into the game, really, right? They added the interior of a city we already had. I think prison's obviously a major thing, but in the grand scheme of the future of the game, it isn't, right? Food, pretty major thing. In the grand scheme of things, it's not. Like for the expectations of the future, like salvaging or a whole nother star system, right? I think that's more what people have their eyes on. Even certain spaceships.
So it depends on how you look at the game. I mean, like if you're looking at it like pure traditional gameplay, then 3.9, looking at it, it wasn't a very solid patch. Nothing was coming in. But like in terms of like art, the environment art team completely killed it. The props art team completely killed it. They
put tomatoes on everything though, man.
They put tomatoes on everything. There are 6 kinds of burger and they all they're all modeled, and it's like, why? But it's amazing. But it's like amazing in a different kind of way.
Yeah, I mean, and even small things like Microtech having like the proper building blocks, elevators, and right, like just our general experience is getting better. I know people look at it and like the patch is still a little bit buggy, but the quality of life of this patch, I think, is light years ahead of 3.8.
Yeah, but there's one feature that got removed that I think a lot of people are looking forward to, and as a result of it, they're slightly upset, and that was there was a card on 3.9 for a long time for the dynamic economy. Like Tony Z's like thing.
Yeah.
So I saw you guys mining today, and obviously Quantanium is in. I hate that name so much.
I hate it
It's
too.
like there was
How
an
many
ISC
quanta things can we have? Come on.
it's unquantifiable.
Yeah.
But, like
I see what you did there.
but like I think last week or the week before they had Dave Haddock talking about space cows and how nope, we nailed that on the head. We're not gonna use the word space cow in game because like it's silly. And then the same lore team are like, here's Quantanium. But yeah. Anyway, that aside, so you were mining Quantanium and it is super lucrative. It's really, really valuable. But what does that mean in terms of the economy?
Oh, it's going to break it.
Yeah. What knock-on effect is that going to have for you as a player in general who doesn't mine?
That you feel like you're missing out because you don't have a mining ship or something?
Not quite.
What do you think?
What is Quantanium refined into?
Oh, quantum fuel, obviously, yeah.
Yeah. How expensive is quantum fuel right now?
Very cheap. Yeah, true.
So when the dynamic economy system comes into, if Quantanium is still paying you and your buddies $1 million for a couple hours, how expensive is quantum fuel going to be? Which is refined Quantanium.
True. True, yeah. And refined Quantanium should be even more expensive.
Exactly.
Yeah. So it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Unless when you refine it makes a much larger quantity or something.
It's paradoxical, but
that
it's
would
a
be,
space game, so yeah, possibly. But yeah, I mean, so something that
how about this? Maybe a small amount of quantum, maybe a small amount of Quantanium can make. Maybe you don't need a lot of it for quantum fuel because we don't know what the volume of our quantum drives hold, right?
Right, like in the food industry, truffles, right? Like these big giant like funguses and like they're hundreds of thousands of dollars, but like a tiny flake is what you put into like a really expensive dish. Maybe. But
I think you're more onto something than
like what Captain Flint said this a long time ago, and he said that the way he saw it with Star Citizen is that in the future, once we have all these systems and even these planetary systems, right? These are going to be hubs where players spend a lot of their time, and they'll only want to move to a different one. So, like, let's say Microtech to Hurston, if they want to do something really important, and it'll be even more drastic for them wanting to go from one system, say like the Stanton system, to Pyro. It'll be to them almost akin to like migrating a server in an MMO because of how like reputations and stuff will work. So if that's the case, and this is like huge speculation, right? But if that's the case, then the quantum fuel being that expensive won't matter, because it'll be something that you work towards because you're not always quantum traveling everywhere.
Yeah, I think that's always been their goal. I don't, obviously they haven't achieved it yet, but the goal is to definitely each star system and even each planet to some extent should have enough content to keep you there for a good amount of time. And I think that's their plan, that's their goal, and they're working their way towards achieving it. And each patch we get a little bit closer, but we still got quite a ways to go because we still need... Now, I mean, as they add game mechanics in, then things will exponentially get more... You'll have exponentially more content in each area, right? Because once we start talking about salvaging, then you have all sorts of NPC salvaging missions, salvaging other players, then you start talking about repair, bounty hunting, mercenary stuff, real piracy. I mean, we could just talk. It's endless, right? There's no exploration or anything, right?
Yeah.
So even when that's in.
One of my future hopes with the whole reputation system is that already it's kind of in with the bounty hunting system with the Hurston specific bounty hunting missions. You can grind to be able to then see Eckhart and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
One of my future hopes is that you'll be able to grind so much, let's say grind, but like focus on Hurston so much that you end up like being able to get a hab, say in the CBD, for instance, and like be like part of the Hurston family.
It's like other role-playing games where if you I've never played The Witcher and I've played very little of Skyrim, but games like those, like if you do a lot of quests around that area, you do become like famous, right?
Yeah.
Same thing. Like why would this be any different than that, right? And eventually that will be a thing, and you're gonna want to achieve that thing. I even go so far as, and I'll pose this question to you before we go to any calls here, because we have I think three. Yeah, three. The idea that what do you think about crafting? I know they never said traditional crafting would be in the game. But what's your opinion on crafting in Star Citizen? Real quick, mine is similar to before, where like you need that villain to keep things interesting. If you're not like really engaged with what's going on in the world that you're playing, and I know some players craft and some players don't in MMOs, but the idea that the players are touching and creating, I think have always been very important for the games that I've played. What do you think about that? And like, for reputation wise, this is what made me think of it, is my thought process there would be maybe you build up a reputation with a company like RSI, and you eventually, because I think our expectation is to be able to maybe own one of these factory nodes that are involved in this Quanta system, and maybe you earn a franchise and you're able to craft certain RSI engines or whatever. Because when you think about the game now, like there's all these different minerals to gather and all these things, and are we just going to be traveling them from point A to point B and then watching our UEC number go up?
Yeah, I mean, you bring up a good point. Right now in the game, it looks like the only kind of industry you can participate in is like what they call primary resource gathering, right? But like, the way components and stuff in Star Citizen work, every single component in the game is owned by a company. So like, is owned by Microtech, is owned by Rariari, is owned by XYZ. I feel like it would be cool if you could franchise one of those things out, so you own a factory or whatever, so you can essentially be part of that process, even though at that point it's still passive. You're not in the factory like being a foreman or anything. But in terms of like hands-on like crafting, there is a really old design document, but what we're seeing is that these older design documents are pretty much coming to fruition now. No, even obsolete. The opposite.
Well, mining was the only one, but some of them feel like they may have been obsolete, right? Which go ahead. You might be more onto something than I am. I haven't paid attention to them for a very long time.
Right. So like there's one older one for ship repairing.
Okay.
And it is deep.
Yeah.
Like this document is huge, and it goes on about how in their mind ship repairing is going to have like, for it to work well, you need at least 2 players, and one person is going to be on this terminal who's going to like decide what elements are going to be going into onto the hull. If your ship is damaged, you need somebody else to be working this welding gun to like tear off a panel in the ship, and then you have to put it on with whatever replacements like elements you want to put onto the ship in order to like to either buff it or just simply repair it. So I feel like because of the way Star Citizen is, and because of like for better or for worse, because of like how its lore is so intertwined with all its components, I don't think players are going to be able to have a specific like role in the creation of it, apart from maybe passively owning a factory. But I feel like there'll be other hands-on things that people won't expect that will be a lot deeper in complexity than, see, for instance, mining is a huge like a leap compared to like right-clicking a node in World of Warcraft, for instance.
Yeah, for sure.
And they've spoken about the 3 subcomponent system. So like every component you have will have 3 subcomponents you'll have to be able to buy, and then like mix, max, min, max, that kind of stuff. And ships like the Carrack have a repair room. We don't know how. So I spoke about ship repairing. We don't know how subcomponent repairing is going to work. it has its own dedicated room on a carrack. So maybe like that's going to be deep. We don't know yet is the answer, but
Yeah.
I just feel like I feel like because Star Citizen is supposed to be like, set into the future, certain things that we take for granted in other games will be made obsolete, like you say, but other things will kind of like take over and be a little bit more prominent.
Okay, cool. Well, all right, let's get into some calls here. We do have 3. So we have Kazu here, so he's kind of muted. I want to make sure that he hears me because we have a little bit of problems with Discord in doing this. So if you guys remember, if you were here for the last CitizenCon, this was something that we did in the past. So I'm going to go ahead and bring in our first caller here, and his name is Henrik. I'll get his name up above in just a moment. So Henrik, welcome. Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hello, sir. How you doing?
I'm doing fine. Thanks for asking.
No problem. Do you have anything? What do you want to add? Anything specific for Myre to start?
More like to both of you.
Okay.
I know you have said you haven't flown so much in the new patch, but have you tried to feel the new how the ships are behaving here in the new patch?
I haven't given it enough time to know, but the one thing that I noticed that I don't think a lot of people noticed came into the patch was the do you notice the, I don't know what he called it. It was David Coulson. There's a dynamic thruster thing going on now. So if you ever pay attention, the thruster meter. So if you have any ships that have the new HUD, the circular one, you could see that it's going between like 20% thruster power all the way up to 120%, depending on how close you are and what thrusters you're using. The ship figures it out what you need, and it's what's smoothing out the movements a little bit.
Yeah, I haven't seen that in any of my ships because all of them is R1 haven't been past the old building block. Yes, they have the old system. But what I have found out is the ships doesn't break as hard normally as usually.
Break as in slow down?
Yeah, slow down as hard. You have to either when you are moving forward, you have to press backwards to get the full brake force.
Gotcha. I've noticed that too. You have to flip and burn, and that's really the I think that might be the result of him watching The Expanse. Remember when we started talking about The Expanse a couple times, and you were like, "Oh shit, here we go, everything's gonna change again." So I think that's a little bit of that.
But even in the war, usually when I'm landing, I'm kind of making a glide down to the landing pad.
Yeah.
And for me to do, I can still do it, but I have to press backwards at the same time for getting the full braking force out of my front thrusters.
Yeah. Have you done any of it, Myre? Have you noticed any of this stuff?
I haven't really experienced it myself, but like for the most part, I'm landing on space stations, not like I'm not doing much planetary gameplay at the moment. So I haven't noticed the ship not handling as well as it should do. Apart from one time I was flying in like a Storm on Microtech taking off, like it just felt heavier. Yeah. I haven't noticed things being uncontrollable, but when I take off and when I land, I use decoupled so it glides instead of having to, like go like manually, so I don't know if that's affecting why I am not experiencing that, but yeah.
I've just recently started using decoupled, and it's a little messy, and they spam this emote in the chat that looks like a helicopter to make fun of me, but I like it a lot, especially landing. Taking off, I'm still struggling big time, but landing, I'm getting the hang of it.
Yeah, it makes the whole experience so much smoother. Not just for yourself, but also people watching you as well. You know, like when people like at flight decks on spaceports and stuff watch you take off in Decoupled, to them the game is like, wow, this game is so immersive. That ship is taking off like it would in real life. Look at those landing gears. Go, oh, it's in quantum. But when somebody's using keyboard and mouse for the first time, or like just without using Decoupled, like because it's like it's moving like you're lagging, but you're not. It takes you and people watching you out of the game in some respect.
Yeah, and that's the thing they've always been trying to fix with the flight model is it's very like hummingbird like.
Yeah.
And they've always been trying to smooth it out, and they haven't quite achieved it yet, but I guess they're trying to get closer.
Yeah. There's one solution that Dave Coulson added, but it's really finicky. Basically, you press right alt and scroll wheel down, and that reduces your thruster output. So when you then press W to like adjust, you move really slowly, or if you're in gravity, you crash because your thrusters aren't powerful enough. But yeah, it's really finicky to use and to get to, and
that's what I think that might actually go away, because that's the thing that I was describing is that thruster power is now dynamically changing based on your inputs. So now I think it's not just based on your inputs, but I think what he's trying to do, but I'm totally putting words into his mouth, is as you're getting closer to a surface, the game recognizes it and smooths out the experience, and it also knows whether you're in atmosphere or space, and determines your thruster power or your thruster power based on all of that.
Does it do anything to your main thrusters in the back, or is it only your maneuvering thrusters that is?
I think that accesses all of them.
Yeah, they're treated all the same.
Yeah.
One thing I would have liked to try, but I wasn't able to because I only just thought about it after we went live. Do you have a Prowler?
Yes.
Yeah, so the Prowler in its settings, it has engines, it has maneuvering thrusters, but it also has Gravlev engines on it as well. I wanted to see what happens when you turn off the Gravlev and just try and fly normally.
Wait, are they okay? I thought that there were Gravlev in lore, but they're not currently in the game.
They are listed as Gravlev as components.
Okay. Have you flown across the surface as if it was Gravlev?
No, because I forgot.
Okay.
I only just realized this like after the patch came through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Henrik, do you have anything else you want to add?
No. If I'm coming on something, I'm calling in again.
Okay. We'll see you soon then.
See you.
Later, dude. All right, so let's bring in our next one.
Yeah?
Hello, Typhoony.
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Oh, yeah, I think it works.
I think it does. It's weird. It said you were muted, but I could still hear you, so welcome.
That's interesting.
Well,
I'm
welcome.
not very sure what the topic is about exactly, but the state of Star Citizen, I think in general, that's it.
Yeah, I mean, basically we brought Myre on, and we just I wanted to have like a pretty broad open topic, so the state of Star Citizen, we're talking about Star Citizen, so if you want to talk about anything with us, feel free.
All right, well, let's start with the beginning then. I will say 3.9, the state of 3.9. I think, for me, it's not very good. Okay. If you play live a lot, I think it's pretty good, but for me, I mostly play in Evocati and PTU, and I'm a bit of a bounty hunter. And for example, we got the prisons in, which in my opinion are a bit premature, but I also see the case that CIG is developing it, and you can't have all mechanics synchronously interacting with each other and be good. I mean, this is good for the bigger picture, and it's fine that prisons are in right now.
Yeah.
But I think that CIG should shift the focus a little bit on more repeatable content. So, for example, we got the beacons in the game, but they didn't get a lot of love lately. Like, we can be a Uber in space, but it doesn't really work well anymore. For example, I think they should expand a little bit more on it. So, for example, we got search and rescue right now in the game. Like, you can spawn in the medbed. Maybe you can make a beacon out of that and focus more on repeatable content, which doesn't break. For example, every time CIG adds a mission, it breaks most of the time. It doesn't work people do a mission maybe 1, 2, 3 times. I don't know. Maybe after 3 times you get bored of it because it's not fun anymore. I think those beacons actually have the opportunity to make a lot of repeatable content.
Absolutely.
And make it interesting in the long term. And I think there should be a major focus on for the game. I cannot hear you anymore, Turk. Is that a...
You can't hear me anymore?
Oh, yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah, I saw your mouth moving on the stream, but I wasn't able to hear it. So I think CIG should focus a lot on that instead of maybe doing missions, for example. I mean, in 3.9, there are some cool missions. You got this criminal mission where you should release prisoners from a pod. But I mean, you do that twice or thrice or maybe 4 times, and then you have seen it, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I agree for sure, is that the beacons are a really good opportunity for, I mean, like we said before, repeatable is when we play with each other or against each other, right? So the service beacons really bring us together, and that's what makes things repeatable. But I don't know, do you have anything else to add on that one, Myre? I mean, are there any beacons you'd like to see that we don't have, or that we aren't aware that are coming?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by beacons exactly.
So you know how you have the service beacon where you can say, like, I'm lost, come pick me up. And we know that there's going to be a service beacon one day for refueling and escort and things like that.
And medical gameplay, yeah. So, yeah, I feel like, CIG, it'd be nice if they focused a bit more on that, because obviously that adds to, I guess, structured emergent gameplay where you can ask somebody for something, but not only can you ask them for something, but there's a system for them to see that you're asking.
Yeah.
I feel like even if they did focus on that right now, because of the current state of the HUD, it would hardly be used, because as it stands right now, you as a player would have to actively press F1, go to your mission schedule, then go to your beacon schedule, then look to see the missions, because the HUD sucks.
Yep.
You know, like you constantly see a flood of different like things popping up over your head. Some are NPCs. Yeah, I block them out. I block out in-game chat. It's up, and I don't know it's up. So I feel like it should come 100%. I agree, Typhoony, but I just feel like it's not there yet. In many ways, like Star Citizen is like this. You know, it's all iterative, and it's always a summation of different parts, and to have your beacons work well, you would need to have a good HUD, and they're working on that first, I feel. But as for like the hero missions, like the Caterpillar mission that got created, it's really cool, but I feel like things like those need to be, and when we have the dynamic economy system, it might be, but they need to be more modular, or they need to chain off things so that even if you have, you know, like, okay, this is a Caterpillar style archetype mission, it chains off, or it comes off a different mission, and it's slightly different in a slightly different way. But it's like, it requires the lore team and the mission team to kind of work on that as well, because otherwise it won't make sense.
Yeah, I think it comes down to one of those things where, you know, they keep telling us, anytime you see a show and it's like, yeah, we'd love to do that, but we don't want to have to redo work. Yeah. Yeah. So that's the... It just comes down to that.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
You see that everywhere. It's why, and this is another thing that the competitive guys are really mad about, but like, it's why there are shield holes in certain ships, and why they haven't fixed those shield holes, because it would take
in the next
time Sorry?
It's in the next patch, or in the next coming patches. Like they said that shield tech, the new, like the sign distance, that's what fixes the shield holes. Why are we going to waste dev time fixing something that's going to get fixed in the next 3 or 6 months?
Exactly. Rather than going into one specific ship and then like, and how it would be weird to do it in the first place, because it's not just increasing the bubble to like protect the ship more. I mean, it would do, but then that shield hitbox would be disgustingly huge, and you would basically be a larger size ship than you want to be, and then the competitive guys will complain for a different reason. But yeah, so once SDF comes in, then they'll be able to have no shield holes essentially. But it's the same with a lot of things in this game, you know, like they're always looking for the most part in the long term, because if they focus on the short term, the game will never come out and it'll be even more slow to develop.
Yeah, like
But
you think this
fun.
is slow.
It'd be more fun.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing is we want like this. We're like I get what you're saying, Typhoony, right? Like we want this to be fun, and we want it to be fun now, and we know that there can be these like tiny changes that can do it. And you know me more than anybody. Like I am so far from a white knight, it's not even funny. But like and I've been getting called a white knight lately in chat, in comments and stuff. So yeah, it makes me giggle. But the thing about it is that we're in the boat that we're in because of decisions that were made a really long time ago by Chris to make, the scope of the game super big. And, we can be mad at him about those things, but it's 2020 now. Those choices were made in 2015, 2016. Like, what can we do? This is what we have. So with what they have now, if they start trying to, we also make fun of them for every time they have to rework ships. So now they're avoiding those reworks by not doing anything at all and grabbing these little low-hanging fruit type content like food or like prisons or whatever until we can get those things that are more dynamic, right? Like, how about this one? Myre, I was kind of dealing with something in the background. I don't know if you mentioned like the dynamic mission system related to service beacons at all, right? So, all those things are important as well. So, like, I'm with you, Typhoony. But at the same time, I'm fully prepared to just wait. And I've always said that, like, the time that I'm waiting until is, a little bit of time after server meshing gets in the game. And then if I don't start seeing, like, really significant, vast changes, because that should be the point of, like, all right, you have the framework of Star Citizen at this point. Now it's time to start adding these features to the game and making things more interesting.
I 100% agree with that. But for example, related to the service beacons, I would say try to tackle that before server meshing comes in, because repeatable content will be very important with server meshing. We could not have enough missions. CRG basically cannot create enough missions to keep so many people occupied. If it's not in a procedurally generated or way, or actually a self-fulfilling way that people actually keep each other busy with nice missions. And with the building blocks they're working on right now, which are basically pretty far along, I think they basically say it in Inside Star Citizen a few weeks ago, like, where we usually did maybe a month to develop some UI for that, we basically do it maybe in 1 or 2 days. I think, like,
you misheard.
Whoa, that's really insane.
You misheard. So, it wasn't to develop something; it was to make a change on something that was already developed. So,
all right,
like,
well,
yeah, just pay attention to the other thing they said was we're working through the store shop signs. And each quarter we're going to do one. So that's how long it takes to change what they've already did. But once it's in, then the changes can be quick.
Okay. So in any case, I think it is actually a much more efficient process than it was before.
Yeah.
So I think they could start tackling stuff like the beacons, because I mean they're already in. I think the UI can use a little bit more love. I think the way it meant to be worked with a review system and the like, which has never get the proper attention, they already know how it's supposed to work. They just need to implement it. So I think that should get a focus, for example, in the next quarter, or actually, and what because I'm pretty because I'm focusing on this kind of content myself, like doing bounty hunting, doing the beacon transport beacons and the like. I also do a lot of bounty hunting, and I think bounty hunting is in a pretty bad state right now.
Yeah.
So will the NPC bounty hunting is pretty fun. You can do it pretty consistently. I think the player bounty hunting, like, we only got 50 players in the server, so I cannot really find them very often. And also, if I find them, then there's not always a match. Sometimes the people are already disconnected when I finally get to the bounty, or
I feel like they wait for you. I feel like they wait for you to get there, like, and then boom.
100%.
Yeah.
Oh wait, that could totally be the case. or sometimes the bounty is on a planet and basically sit and duck, so you don't really have a challenge or anything, So you basically go down to him and then blow him up. So
those are the best. The best. What are you talking about? But
so I think that should be addressed a little bit. And for example, you should also be able to steal cargo from this bounty. And I think there should be a little bit of more of a cat and mouse game, especially when founding the bounty. They usually just quantum away, and that's a little bit unfair, I would say. You have gone all the miles to get to your bounty, and it just quantum away. I mean, even if I'm a pirate and I'm running from bounties, and I'm just being able to quantum away, that will not be fun for me, I would say. It's easy, and it's maybe very nice as a pirate to jump away from the cops or the UE or a bounty hunter, but I don't think that's a skillful or a fun mechanic to have in the game.
So
from both perspectives.
On your point about bounty hunting gameplay in general, there was and sadly it's gone because it's not been deleted or removed. It's in what the devs call or the producers call reprioritization. So it'll show up eventually, but there was supposed to be a card in 3.9 that would have had bounty hunting, a refactor for bounty hunting missions against players. That and of course we're also supposed to have the Cutlass Blue in this patch as well, and I kind of feel like those might have been related. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is that the current state of bounty hunting right now is not it's not intended. There was something new that they have in the works. It's just not out yet.
Yeah, it's not what they want.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I would say is like, do you think that they think what's here is fun or appropriate? I don't think so.
I hope not.
Yeah, I don't think so. And I think it's just I think it's a lot harder than you think it is to add these things in. I don't know anything, and I never claimed to know how long it would take to do it, but I think it's a lot more difficult to do these things. But I'm with you. Like, you're just stating your priorities, like what you would like them to prioritize. Yeah. And I get that.
Of course, it's my perspective. And I'm not saying it's easy at all. I mean, this is probably not an easy mechanic. But I would like to see maybe some direction from CIG, like we had back in all the way 2014 or something, 2014, with the design notes, where they basically explained how refueling is going to work, how repairing is going to work, and all that stuff. And I would like to see from CIG like a higher design goal. So, okay, this is ultimately where we're heading towards. That will be nice. I think that's cool.
I hate that idea. What about you, Myre?
So as in like telling us what they ultimately want, it's never going to work in their favor.
It always makes them look bad, dude.
They'll put their foot in their mouth. But as far as like
So you guys didn't like the design notes like we had back in the day?
Of course we did. It was so fun to think about what you would do in the future. And then guess what happens? When it comes in, it's different and you hate it. This is why, like, dude, this is why they're doing straight to flyable ships more often than just concept ships. Because you look at the concept ship, you create this image in your head of what it's supposed to be and do, and then they put it in the game and it doesn't do any of those things. It looks a little bit different and you hate it. The amount of people that freaked out over the Carrack, like, somewhat deservedly so, was insane, right? And
there like, I agree with you. It's a double-edged sword.
Big time double-edged sword, and it's sharper on one side than it is on the other.
Yeah, if you let people dream, then obviously it drums up the hype, which then drums up the sales. But at the same time, the things people dream about and then get super disappointed about is crazy. Yeah. Like when they talked about bounty hunting, there were several people for a long time in my org's Discord channel or like whatever it was at the time, who thought that meant, oh, we're gonna be able to hunt Rancor planetside. Like what? And like. Now we have PlanetSide, but that wasn't even a thing then. And now we have Dawn, and that wasn't even a thing then. But still, it's one of those things. But I mean, in terms of this going back to like how bounty hunting works right now, even though there isn't a card for like when somebody runs away, there is something slated for 3.11 or what is called 4.0 at the moment. It's going to change in a sec. Called high speed combat changes, like which changes the way ship components behave at high speeds. If I was a betting man, I would say that that would include not being able to use the quantum drive when you're past SCM speeds, which will affect bounty hunters being able to chase people down better.
Yeah. Okay, that's actually really interesting.
Yeah.
That would be awesome. But all right, Typhoony, we actually have a couple more calls, so I got to let you run.
Yeah, sure.
But very good call, and I appreciate it, man. I get it. I get what your priorities are your priorities, and everybody's priorities are different. And I love hearing what people think, what people's priorities are, because we all look at this game from different perspectives, and it's a beautiful thing. Thanks for coming on, man.
All right. It's been awesome, man. Thank you for having me, and have a nice stream.
You too, dude. All right, so we got 2 more callers. We got Hodo coming in next. Welcome, Hodo. How you doing?
Howdy. You hear me all right?
I hear you perfect.
All right. Where to begin? That's
Where
a good question.
to begin?
All right, so I'll start with 3.9 and my feelings from a pirate's point of view. Yeah, I called before about piracy. I'm that guy.
That's okay. We love you. Like we said, you're very important.
So 3.9 for me is kind of the death of piracy. They kind of crushed the one thing we did, and that was take cargo. Granted, it was due to a glitch, picking up ships and all that stuff. I'm fine with them fixing the glitch. But they should have increased the cargo drop rate from destroyed ships from 6% to 10%. It would have helped out a lot better with the idea of us profiting off of other people's cargo.
Yeah,
that's our job.
I agree. I've been saying that one for a long time.
The other thing that's kind of killed it for us is they moved all the comsats to orbit every moon and planet in Stanton minus Levski or Delamar, which is not in Stanton. Which, again, there's no risk versus reward for cargo haulers. You can't go to like Lover Ridge, which was a high payout area, to pick up, Agricium or Laranite or Titanium and run it to Area 18, which was an easy, 20, 30,000 run at a Freelancer max. But there was no comsat there. There was no armistice zone. You were at risk while you were on the ground for people like me who would sit there just out of scan range and look.
Let me jump in. Are there armistice zones at all of the locations now? Or are there any non-armistice trading areas?
There's no armistice zones on some of them, but they're all covered by comsat.
Okay, so well, that's the point. Like, let me jump in. I'm sorry. That's the whole point of it, is that if you want to run a, like, piracy is deeper than just flying to some location and killing somebody and then taking their cargo. It requires planning like everything else should in the game. So if you know where you're going, you take down that comm array as part of, like, maybe you're just a solo pirate, right? Or maybe you're playing with a group. But either way, know what you're doing in advance and take down that comm array. Now,
I was getting to that next.
Now, there is definitely a bug where if the comm array is down and you murder somebody, you're still getting a rating. That is not supposed to happen, and I'll confirm that here from devs in the chat. I don't know when it'll get fixed or if it'll get fixed, but that was not the intention, okay? So if you were getting to that point, it's moot. It's just a matter of when it gets fixed.
All right. No, I was going to get to hacking the comm array.
Okay.
We'll give you a crack at that. Like, that's another issue. It's like, you go hack the comm array, you want to do things as a pirate. Ultimate goal of a pirate is to remain anonymous to the outsider. You want to look like another trader, nobody, to lure them in. You want to be that wolf in sheep's clothing. Yep. But if you're sitting there, a red blinking icon with crime stat 1 for felony trespassing, they're not coming near you.
Yeah, they need to resolve that one. You need to be able to stealthily take down the comm arrays. I agree with that 100%. But you have to take down the comm arrays. I love that idea of the piracy gameplay.
It's one of those things where people want to be pirates in Star Citizen, but the overall kind of like gameplay that would kind of like foster that, it doesn't quite exist. They're not focusing it themselves as developers, like actually saying, like your money or your life or stand and deliver. That doesn't exist. You can't drop cargo and that kind of thing. And it's awesome that players are trying to facilitate that, but it's one of those things where like it will come in the future, like being able to properly profit and enjoy like what you're doing as opposed to try and force the fun out. So I'm honestly looking forward to that point, Elite Dangerous is a game that I guess is brought up a lot, and I once tried doing cargo hauling there, and I got like interdicted by somebody, and they called me online. I mean, on the thing, and they're like they used a voice changer, and they were like, drop me your credits. I mean, drop me your loot. And I had to do it, and even though they had like just the one ship and like with like very limited cargo, I had to drop enough for them to like to carry to leave to let me go essentially. That's not there yet, and I really, really hope that comes soon.
Yeah.
Because I love the idea of the actual pirate that you are trying to play, not just somebody who blows somebody out the sky because air superiority. But yeah.
Yeah. Like it even goes as far as like you're not just hopefully one day you're not just taking it to sell it, you're taking it because you need it.
Yes, and it's like the other issues I've run into is I look at it and I see piracy and bounty hunting are opposite sides of the same coin. One cannot exist without the other. It's light and the dark side. And they pretty much rely on very similar mechanics in some ways. They work on preying on something else. Your bounty hunter is your sheepdog. They go after the wolf. The wolf is your pirate who goes after the sheep. It's just the way it works. It's the way it's been since UO. It's the way it's been since the beginning of time.
But there's always been PKs too, which are different.
Yeah. PKs
those are murderers. They're strict murderers, and those are the people that everybody calls griefers in this game. Those are people in MMOs, and those are people that exist, and you do have to respect what they consider enjoyable gameplay, even though you may not.
Yeah,
exactly. And it's like it's one of those. I've dealt with the stigma of being called a griefer because I'm a pirate, and I go and I on your ship. I see you have cargo. I ask you to give me money, and then you ignore me, so I blow you up.
Exactly.
So it's one of those things that I see a lot. But on the other side, I'm not going to take away from 3.9 on the prison side. Prisons is absolutely phenomenal. The ambience, the graphics, they did an outstanding job. I haven't been yet, but I've seen all of my org mates go. I refuse to go.
Yeah.
It ain't happening. But it still ain't happening.
Yeah.
I'm still very good at hunting, and I just don't hunt anywhere where there's combat now. So, and I don't even bother taking it down. Just not worth it. Not till they fix the other bugs.
Yeah.
The last thing that I really want to kind of touch on is, for me, the Prowler is... I love the Prowler. I've got a Prowler. But it is the best heavy fighter in the game right now.
It doesn't make any sense.
It is weird, but it's one of those... I am of the point where I believe the shields that are on the Prowler and on the Banner Defender, their Taveran shields, they should be restricted to alien ships. Because when you start taking them off, it doesn't make sense to throw them on other ships. They're
they should
alien
only
tech.
Interface with the alien tech.
Yeah.
Like right now, I've put an FR-76 on my Prowler to make up for the shield regen issue that the Sakuran has. And I've let a Vanguard just hammer at me, and I've laughed.
Yeah.
It's an issue that like live games have when they add new ships or new characters, new heroes, is that like they tend to be overpowered or broken. But it's compounded by the fact that like nothing is balanced right now.
Yeah.
Things are in more or less the ballpark figure of like how they might work, but nothing is balanced. And they talk about this all the time, and it'll continue to be broken like this until some point. But I agree 100% that Asperia made items definitely have to be specific to the alien ships that they're created for. Otherwise you have these issues.
Yeah, or just balance better. You can do that as well, which we can understand why they may not be at this point.
Yeah, but true balance will not happen until beta. That I can promise you.
Yeah, and it'll still always be in flux. But Hodo, I got to apologize to you because I know you were waiting in the queue a long time. There's 2 more behind you, and I got a text, so I have to run a little bit earlier. So I hope to get you in next time you want to call in. But is there anything quick you want to add before I let you go?
Yeah, it's just a quick one on the whole
go for it
prison I still think it was a little premature for him, as much as I love him.
Sure.
I think they should have done death mechanics or death penalties instead of that, because we have medical gameplay tier 1 or tier O now. They could have continued down that line. We have hospitals and locations at all the major landing zones.
They could have fleshed with that instead, yeah.
Yeah, which would have gave a reason to eat, drink, worry about, the cold, the hot. You get frostbite, freezer burn, whatever you want to call it. Your character has to go to the hospital, get treated, because none of the medical game can handle it.
Like prisons are a pet project from the missions team, as opposed to being something from the other, we have all these devs. You have Todd Pappy, you have Tony Z and stuff like that. Yeah, so prisons are Luke Presley's pet idea that just happened to be pretty cool. And the way they are right now, a design thing that would have been made by, say, Todd Pappy, which would include things like the hospitals. I don't think he thinks that those are necessarily ready yet, but it would have been cool if they did.
Yeah. No, all right, Hodo.
That's
good. That's it.
I was gonna say that's it, and thanks, and I'll see you out there.
Yeah, man. All right. Be good, buddy. Thank you so much for calling. I hope we get you on for a little bit longer next time.
No problem.
Later, bud. All right, bringing in ASN next. ASN, what's up, dude? Our
Howdy, folks.
Resident game developer.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good to be here. Yeah, I just want to talk about the state of this channel. Like, where are those Twitch primes, subscribes, notifications on YouTube? Like, seriously, guys? Is this what we're doing? Just idly sitting and listening? Wow.
So have you been following 3-9 at all? What do you think? I know you've been busy.
I've been busy, but I've been following what people have been up to, checking some streamers. It looks like the database issues that they had kind of like crippled the launch a little bit.
Yeah.
I hope they're looking into the backend stuff. But overall, some people disagree, but I would say that finishing prisons was a good thing for the game, because there was a clear deterrent lacking in the law enforcement.
Yeah.
And some people prioritize their professions, but I want to say that, if you do go out, gank people and kill people for no good reason, then, you should have some sort of in-game punishment. So glad that it is in. I don't know how your experiences were. Were they good with prisons so far, or was it like not as you expected?
Yeah, I mean, I don't do the unlawful stuff too much. What about you, Myre?
I've had some really, really interesting experiences in prison. I mean, first of all, you have prison escapes, which is neat, and then it's actually such a long gameplay loop.
Yeah.
In and of itself, like to escape and then have to hack away your crime rate, but I mean your crime stat. But I've also like mined my way out as well and explored the caves, and it's a really, really cool thing. But you also get another like subset of weird RPers who like to sing. Have you ever played Dead by Daylight?
Yes.
I haven't. No.
You know the huntress who sings that la la la. Yeah. So one time I was trying to escape, and then there was this girl who was like in the cave just singing that song. And eventually I saw her, and she had a knife, and she chased me around for ages.
Oh my god!
Holy crap, dude! Is that on footage somewhere? We gotta.
Yeah, I have it clipped.
Awesome.
If Simon Bob is still here, he probably it's there somewhere.
If you can you link it to me, and I'll put it in the description for people to watch on YouTube?
Sure, yeah.
That's awesome.
That is amazing. Yeah, that sounds great.
Like, I heard somebody else.
Like that, right?
I heard somebody else found somebody doing the like my precious, like because it's all like echoey and everything. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But no, it's been like, good.
Stuff like that is awesome, because it gives players more opportunity to experience something different that is outside of the usual. It gives us, like, you can actually add something to an emergent story through that, like, getting caught, escaping. I mean, maybe chilling in prison and stuff like that for a while. It just adds to what exists. It's obviously isn't something groundbreaking, but
yeah,
it's just not a neat thing to have in the game. And so that's good. It's kind of disappointing to see like that they did indeed push everything further with Crusader. And yeah, I mean, with Corona and other like things, it is, yeah, we've talked about this, but
yeah,
I gotta say the point of saying 4.0 isn't 4.0 right now is very correct. Like I always imagine 4.0 being Pyro, you know, like the next
the
star
first
system.
jump point. It has to be.
Yeah. So they could just rename the versions and just be like,
they are doing it, right?
Oh, are they? Did they confirm that?
They did. Yeah, they came out with a post yesterday, 2 days ago, that they're going to rename it. But have they told us what it was?
3.10.
3.10.
3.10?
Yeah, so 3.10 is what Xylo said, but we don't
really
exactly
3.10. Okay. Because we already had 3.10. Okay, yeah. It doesn't matter though. Yeah. But Xylo is in chat. He said he confirmed. I didn't know that it was going to be 3.10. I just knew they were going to change it. But it makes total sense. Nice. I was even saying just 3.9x or whatever. It doesn't matter as long as it wasn't 4.0, because that really has to that has to be that thing for them, and it's gonna be awesome. That moment where you jump.
For I believe build 2, we had 2.6.1, 2.6 point, 3, 2.6 point this, 2.6 point. But I guess that's because internally they were like, oh, 3.0 is so close. Let's just keep eating, But so I don't know what it says about when 4.0 is coming, or it might just be that calling it 2.6.1 was weird. But I think it makes sense to me this way around, just going up incrementally. It makes more sense than 2.9.4 when it's not a hotfix.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah. And the other thing, New Babbage looks amazing. Like it really looks like they've upped their city quality. And the location actually delivers the lore that they've written many, many years ago. Mm-hmm. I'm very glad that they kind of nailed that, Silicon Valley in our weird future in Star Citizen.
Not even just the look, but the layout and the functionality is unparalleled to any other location they've done so far, I think. Yeah. ArcCorp was looking pretty good. It had most things there, but Microtech just knocked it out of the park.
And ArcCorp isn't fully finished, is it? Because it is missing a suburb or something that they've talked about.
The trinket shop. That's the next thing. I don't know what that'll mean yet, but that a little trinket shop is what they mentioned adding. So we'll see what that does.
I feel that's just it might be flare. It might be flare.
I was hoping
either ship flare or hangar flare.
Hate me all you want, but I was hoping that would turn into that eventually turns into microtransactions that are for cosmetic items that eventually remove the idea of ship sales. Because I still, to this day, I know how important ship sales are to the future of the project and everything, but I also think they're massively detrimental at some point to the project as well, and I think we're far past that. So I don't know if you just keep them going or what, but they're always something that it's got us to where we are, but I wish it never took that,
Yeah.
There are things that can be done there. Obviously, they can limit. Starting the game, you should be only aware of 2 ships, and then they should kind of maybe keep that, and then
somebody spent $1,500 on a ship. 1,500, 2,000.
Not just somebody; they sell
many
out every single time they have a limited stock. They can't not.
They can't. They can't even go so far as we were talking about this the other day. The Gran Turismo licensing, you can't even tell someone, in my opinion, that you bought the Hull E, but you can't drive it until you pass the license test. You know what I mean? Because they spent so much money on these things.
So but I think if you transfer that stuff into the game, it kind of changes a little bit, doesn't it? If you have an online shop where you can access everything, that is one thing. But if you have it in the game and you kind of put limitations around that in the game, that would make it at least a bit better, no?
Oh, you mean from a game standpoint, not limitations on what to purchase from?
Yeah,
for example, give an example.
if like for example, right now, if you want to get a ship, you just put your money down, you get it, right?
Yeah.
Like just imagine in the Star Citizen universe that you gotta, I don't know, go to a place, get a license, do stuff to get that ship, right? Just add extra gameplay things on top to be able to get that.
Don't
And
you think that
the
makes it
currency will
worse?
be in-game.
Don't you think it makes it worse? Because Johnny Moneybags over here doesn't have to do any of that.
Yeah.
No, that's what I'm saying. They have to do it. Like they have to do gamer tasks like people that don't have money.
It'll never
That's
fly.
what I'm saying.
It'll never
Maybe
fly
in the
though.
future.
I agree, but it'll never fly.
Yeah. I think that it'd be cool, and it sounds like a super immersive lore idea. It'd be cool if they were to do it going forwards, but they could never retroactively do it first for the ships that we currently have.
Yeah.
The stuff that's been sold is kind of like that's a given at this point, but there needs to be game things that people need to do. Like money cannot outright buy you this much power in this universe, in my opinion.
Yeah, but at the same time, money.
Yes.
Yeah, right.
I just and when I say that it breaks things, I don't necessarily mean that like this guy has X ship, he's better than me. I mean like it really takes the game experience away from you when you have all the ships. I have an account that has a lot of ships on it because I stream the game and want to show them off to people, right? And I feel like that account is so boring to play in comparison to the account that just has a starter ship on it. Because you have so much in front of you when you play Star Citizen and only have a starter ship, and when you have these other accounts, this other account with all the ships, you're sitting around going, "What do I do now?"
Guess
you have
I'll wait.
everything to you, and you say, "What do I do now?" But when I have my starter ship, I know exactly what to do, and that's
why I love
that's
my
what I mean
Aurora.
by it breaks it. It just totally takes the whole game away from people.
Yeah, I fully agree. And yeah, it takes progression away. It takes other things away, and the fact that more than I think about half of the ships don't have mechanics attached to them doesn't help this whole thing because you're literally walking in a hull that just doesn't have a game mechanic. So, what's the point of a carrack right now except for cruising and style and all that stuff. So I would add more gameplay elements to ships, upgrades, to make people at least play the game a little bit more, even though they have the money.
Yeah. ASN, I gotta run. We gotta run a little bit quicker here. So,
all right.
Is there anything you want to add before you go? And I really want you to plug Scissorrain on today's show if you can, please. I'm really proud of it. Like it's really, really awesome.
Oh, thank you, man. I appreciate it. I mean, overall for 3.9, I gotta say, glad that new Babbage is out. This is another location mostly done in Stanton. So we got Crusader to go, and then we can say slightly goodbye to Stanton. This is a big step for Star Citizen. I think that's good. Having punishment in prisons is awesome. I'm glad that that's in as well. Obviously, the other issues, we'll see how that goes with 4.0 in the future. Regarding Scissorrain, thank you so much for mentioning that.
Yeah, I know you would never do it on your own, so that's why I asked you to.
Thanks. I'm developing a narrative political role-playing game called Suzerain. It's set in a fictional 1950s universe that we've created. We had a demo a week ago for free, and we're going to release this summer.
Good.
Yeah, if you're interested in like narrative games, story games like 80 Days, Orwell, Papers, Please, stuff like that, make sure to check it out because we're pretty similar. You can find us on SuzerainGame.com, Steam Suzerain, and Torpor Games is the company name.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mike.
You're welcome.
And Myre.
Be good at
Have
ASN.
a good day.
You too, buddy. Bye now.
Bye.
Myre, I really think you would like that game, by the way. Kazu, come back. Where are you? Let me bring him back.
I tried my best.
There you go. I put you in because I needed you because we had no more callers.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh, you need the content.
No.
Gotcha. You call in the. Oh, what?
No, I needed you to help fix the cameras, man.
Wow.
All right, give us some content. Send us out.
Oh, for the podcast?
Yeah,
All right, guys, everyone, make sure you unsubscribe from SaltEMike's channel. Everyone, subscribe instead to Myres.
Agreed.
YouTube, he actually has good content in Star Citizen. Like, can you believe it? So yeah, go ahead and do that. Thanks. Peace.
All right. Thank you. Myre, thank you so much for being with us today.
Thanks for having me.
Anytime. I'd love to have you on again. But before we go, where can people find you? Obviously, if you guys are watching on Twitch, !Myre in chat has all his links to his Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch there. But what do you do? Where can people find you before you head out?
You can find me on twitch.tv/Myre, or you can find me at twitter.com at Myre_test.
All right.
And
YouTube, do you have a link yet?
YouTube.com/Myre.
Okay, perfect. There you go. So, because again, I really want to people to check those, I guess, like audiobook versions of some of the lore in Star Citizen. It's really awesome. So,
what would you call it? An audio vid?
An audio video.
Log?
Yeah, but if they have YouTube Premium, they can put on audio only. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah.
But all right, guys, we're gonna head out. So everyone have a wonderful day. Myre, again, thank you so much for being with us. I had a great time, and we hope to have you on soon. So goodbye, everybody.